Hello, Arrowhead parents of freshman students. My name is Mr. Stuber, and I'm a school counselor at South Campus. And me, along with the counseling team down here, put together this presentation to just give you more information about freshman year and the significance of freshman year, and then really talk a lot about what's in the freshman conference. We know you're busy, and we know that you may or may not be having to take off work or cancel other obligations to attend the freshman conference, and we really want parents to attend the freshman conference. So we're trying to make this easy for you and give you this information via this screencast. So the format of this presentation, we're going to cover some important general information first. We're going to talk then more specifically about the freshman conferences, help you sign up for your freshman conference, and then also get into the academic and career exploration and planning content that we cover in the freshman conference. And then we'll also talk about future opportunities at the end that you can be on the lookout for as a parent of a freshman at Arrowhead. So class of 2021, here we are. Wow, time flies. There are 526 of you. Holy cow, that's a lot of students. Here we have the names of the school counselors at South Campus, along with Ms. Kempen, our registrar. And so, feel free to reach out to any of these people with any questions that you have that isn't covered in this presentation. Your school counselor. So we just saw the names there. The role of the school counselor, we have a wide scope in what we cover and what we address as school counselors. So the way I like to describe it to parents is that we're really here to support your students with really anything that comes up that would be a barrier to their education or to their learning, or just we'd be here also just to support your student in any way to maximize their education and their learning. So we cover a lot of different issues in the counseling office. If your student never would like to see their school counselor, the two best ways to do that would be to email the school counselor, and then also you could just stop in. So the student can stop in and see their counselor before school or after school, or during their study hall would be great. Communication. So we feel like it's really important that parents know how to receive communication from us and where to be looking for communication. This is a layout a little bit of how that looks. So we have a model here, ABC, always be conferencing, and that means that really anytime you feel like there's an issue you need to discuss, or a teacher feels like there's an issue they need to discuss with you, that those conversations would be happening really in a timely fashion right when there's a concern. So we try and make that as timely as we can, and provide the opportunities for parents and teachers and counselors to be in communication whenever it's needed. Other ways we work to communicate out would be through Skyward, and you might have gotten a Sky alert that prompted you to actually view this presentation. Email is another great way. Of course, the telephone, paper mailings. Once in a while, you'll see those face-to-face meetings if those are scheduled. Also, the Arrowhead Advisor. We'll talk about that in just a minute. One of the questions that comes up sometimes when I work with families is, is this a teacher issue or a counselor issue? And the best way to answer that question, I suppose, if you're wondering too when issues arise, if the issue that you have, or that your child has, is relating to a specific class where you would really need to be present in the class to understand fully the issue that's there, then that'd be a teacher issue. Anything else that's more general, or a bigger concern specifically about your student that might impact every single class your student has, then that would be a counselor issue. Another thing that has to do with communication, just to mention really quickly, student email accounts. If your child does not already know about their student email account, they definitely should by now. And so just make sure that they're aware of it and that they're checking that email regularly, because a lot of teachers use that for communication out. And it's going to be important for students to be checking that. I mentioned the Arrowhead Advisor a minute ago. The Arrowhead Advisor is our sort of our Arrowhead newspaper that we send out on a monthly basis, and it's just a really good way to get the newest information about what's going on at Arrowhead. We have many different sections in there, so it would be a great idea to subscribe to that, and you can do that on our website if you go to About Us and then Information and Publications, and in that section there's an Arrowhead Advisor page where you can sign up to get the Arrowhead Advisor sent to you every month. Freshman conferences. So I mentioned it that freshman conferences will take up a lot of the content of this presentation. The way you sign up for a freshman conference, if you haven't seen the Sky Alert that went out, is that you would actually send an email as a parent of a student, send an email to freshmanconferences@arrowheadschools.org. Include 3 dates on there that work for you. And then we'll get back to you with a confirmed date and time for your freshman conference. In my little example here, John Smith has fourth hour study hall, which is why this parent has requested fourth hour that the conference happen. The topics we cover in freshman conference, they do vary depending, because these are individualized. So sometimes one question will lead to, down maybe a path that not all the other freshman conferences go. But these are generally the topics for the freshman conference. We talk a little bit about student strengths and areas for growth improvement. We talk about graduating from Arrowhead and what that entails. We try and lay out a 4-year timeline for the student for the things that they should be doing or could be doing to help them get a better understanding of how what they're doing in high school might help them in a career someday. Then we talk a lot about academic and career planning, which is sort of more of a general term that just refers to the opportunities and the experiences that you would have in high school to help you plan and explore for what's next. And then extracurricular activities, we'll hit on those a little bit and talk about what the student is currently doing and what other things they might consider doing as well. The Arrowhead Way. The Arrowhead Way is a big part of everything we do at Arrowhead, and I'd like to bring it into this presentation as well because we really try and talk to students about the Arrowhead Way, and specifically responsibility. The three main things in regards to responsibility for our students is course planning and selection, which is a huge one. So making sure they take the time to select the proper courses for them each year. And we do that around about January and February of every year. So taking the time to do it and doing that correctly is essential. Post-secondary options, just always being willing to look at those, because we don't expect students to know all the options that are out there. That would be impossible. And actually, as counselors, we don't even know all the options that are out there. But we want them to be exploring that. We don't want them to just ignore it or just not do any looking into it just because they feel overwhelmed by all the options. We want to give them a place to start and then encourage that exploration. And same with World of Work options. Really, we just want students to explore. We hit on the graduation requirements pretty heavily in the conference just to make sure everybody understands what they are. We'll go over these more closely when you have your freshman conference with your child. But this is the breakdown. 50 total credits is what you need. And to try and help students see what this might look like, oftentimes we give the example of a student who takes 7 classes per semester. So if you take 7 classes per semester, if you do the math over 8 semesters, which is 4 years here, you would end up with 56 total credits. So even 7 classes per semester is plenty of classes. Then beyond that, you just want to make sure you're taking the right mixture of classes to obtain all of these specific requirements as you go through. We mentioned to students that it is their responsibility to know where they're at towards graduation, not their counselors. So we really make sure they every year look at this and make sure they know where they're at. Transcripts. We do introduce the idea of transcripts in the freshman conference to show students some of the components of that transcript and to help them sort of see the significance of high school. The key components on a transcript: GPA, the courses the student has taken, and the credits the student has earned. And so the transcript really has all the information that anyone would need to determine whether or not the student is eligible to graduate Arrowhead would be the first thing. And then also beyond high school, what the students' abilities are and where they could potentially be admitted to a post-secondary institution. So we often tell students the transcript it's the document that colleges see after high school. So it's important that students know what it is and what's on there. We talk about GPA calculations as well, so that students know that they can at any time they want can calculate their GPA. So I have that in there, and we'll talk more about that in the freshman conference when you have yours. This is what a transcript looks like. You can see that there's 4 columns on the transcript that represents the 4 years that the student is a student at Arrowhead, and then all the classes the student has taken down the left side. And then at the bottom of the transcript, you'll see a summary of the number of credits the student has taken, the grade point that student has, and and then also the total to be earned credits is the number of credits that student is taking in the current semester that they're in. Skyward is a great tool as well for our families. And if you are a parent of a freshman and you don't already know how to get into your student's gradebook through Skyward, I would say put the effort in now to figure that out. Ask your student, or give us a call. Make sure you know how to get in there, because it's the best way to keep track of a student's assignments and their current grades. And so you can see in Skyward every single class your student is taking and the grades they're receiving. And then when you click into the class, you can see more than that. You can even see missing assignments, how the student did on past quizzes and tests and things like that. So it's a very useful tool for parents, and it's probably the best way you can support your student is to be familiar with Skyward. Um, Canvas is another one. I would encourage you to talk to your child about Canvas and ask them to show you their Canvas pages. Every class should have a Canvas page as well, where that would be like where you'd find more information about upcoming things in the class, test dates and projects and things like that. Also, just a lot of uploaded information from the teacher goes there where students can access it. So a lot of good information is also in Canvas. And as you're trying to support your student, you might want to be familiar with that site as well. Academic supports. We just like to mention these, and there's others that aren't on this slide, but these are the ones that we like to talk about in the freshman conference, and these are sort of like a good first step. The best plan of action for a student who needs a little bit of support in a class is always to talk to the teacher first. The teachers are going to know your child the best and might have some specific recommendations on what they can be doing. Not only that, but they see the student in class, and so they're in a really good position to give advice on how to best support the student from home. SAS tutoring is another thing that can be very helpful to students. It's a program that exists within the library, and it's specifically for math. So if your child is struggling in math or has questions about the math homework, they can go into the library from study hall and get assistance with their math work. So it's a great program, and it's another support that's available to all students at South Campus. Satellite study halls is another one that can be really useful to certain students, where it's just a smaller environment for study hall. And so if you think your child might benefit from a smaller study hall, feel free to contact your student's counselor, and they can talk to you more about satellite study halls and possibly set one up for you. And then the NHS tutors. So National Honor Society, they do have a tutor program where the National Honor Society students give their time to help tutor students. That's all set up through the NHS website. So if you go on the Arrowhead Schools homepage and then go to activities, the National Honor Society will have a request form there that you can fill out to get a National Honor Society tutor. We're going to shift gears a little bit now and talk about academic and career planning, or as Arrowhead High School likes to call it, academic and career exploration. In the freshman conference, we're gonna reference back to academic and career exploration probably a few times. This slide is to just give you an overview of sort of the approach that we're taking at Arrowhead. First, we want students to get to know themselves in maybe in a better way to put them in a position to make better decisions about their future later on. And then exploring their options is another big piece. So they need to know what's out there if they want to make sound decisions. So that's exploration, and that takes time. So we emphasize that. And then as they get older, probably like junior year is when they shift over to start planning. And planning their path, knowing that it could change, but that they have at least mapped it out and they know what it would entail if they decide to go down any given path. And then, of course, going and executing that plan to their best ability, also knowing that it still could change even as they leave us. So that's the general approach to academic and career exploration that we take at Arrowhead. We did consciously change the name at Arrowhead from academic and career planning, which is a state term, to academic and career exploration, because we felt exploration better captured what we're trying to do. If you make a great, fantastic plan freshman year and then never revisit it, you may or may not be happy with the results after 4 years, or then maybe even 2 more years in college of that plan. So constantly reevaluating your plan and exploring your options. Just a quick mention here, Career Cruising is a site we use to accomplish this. Career Cruising, actually, just a heads up, just recently decided that to change their name. So the icon in the bottom, Zello, is the new name that you might find that replaces Career Cruising. So just be on the lookout for that. If you see Zello, that's actually Career Cruising. They just changed the name. A little bit more about just options after Arrowhead. This is a part of the freshman conference too, just talking about the different options you have. I think sometimes students at Arrowhead they only think they have one option, which is a 4-year college or university, and the truth is they have other options too, and some of them could be potentially very good options depending on what their interests are and what their plans are after high school. So we lay them all out here. You've got the workforce, the military, 2-year college, and then a 4-year college or university. Put a little mark next to the 2-year college and technical school because across the country, this one is trending and growing in popularity. And there's lots of reasons for that. We'll talk more about that probably in the freshman conference. But it's nice for students to take a step back and see all their options because, we have a lot of great students at Arrowhead, but great students don't always have to go to a 4-year college or university. They can take another path, and that's completely fine. And, to a certain extent, all these paths can lead you to a successful and happy life. It all depends on the student you are and the career interests you're pursuing. Regardless of that, though, there are some things that as a high school student we stress because no matter what your path is after high school, they're gonna serve you well. Those things are listed here. So grade point average is always going to be something that it could only help you to have a good grade point average. ACT score, and just for parents that if you this is your first student through Arrowhead, the ACT test will be administered to all juniors during school their junior year. Course selection or course rigor is another thing that students should always be aware of, no matter what your interests and options are after high school. From that transcript, you're going to be showing the courses you selected and the courses you took throughout the 4 years in high school, and you'll be showing also the level of rigor those classes have. So it's just always going to be a consideration to be aware of the courses you're selecting and how those portray you as a student. And then extracurricular activities, and this is I use this term very generally to encompass everything that students do outside of school. And so that could be volunteering, it could be sport, it could be other activity, whether it's Arrowhead based or not. Extracurricular activities do go a long way in showing post-secondary institutions the type of person you are, not just your grades, but who you are as a person and the things that you care about. Another message that we really drive home in the freshman conference is just to get out there and experience things. As we say, the academic and career exploration process requires students to step out of their comfort zone and experience things that maybe they don't know whether they're going to like or not like. And so we emphasize these types of options as often as we can. Whether it's during the school year or over the summer, something very simple, even as simple as calling up your aunt or uncle that works in a job and ask maybe over the summer if you could go and shadow them for an hour or something like that. Be a very easy way to get some experience. On the other end of that spectrum might be to do an internship or job shadow as you get older. Maybe junior or senior year, where you've planned for it and you use it as a real experience to help inform decisions that you're making for your future college and career direction. So as many things as you can experience on this list, I would encourage you to experience so that you have the best picture of who you are and what you like and don't like when it comes to the world of work. Quick update too on testing. I mentioned the ACT test that's occurring junior year for all of our students. Um, there are some things that are happening before that junior year that you should be aware of. So all freshmen and sophomores take the ACT Aspire test. And the Aspire test is an ACT product that is geared towards helping students uh, get an idea of where they're at for when they do end up going and taking the ACT test. This test also will take place at school, and the window for that is April 14th through 17th this year. And so just be on the lookout for more information about the ACT Aspire test. That will be coming out as to like when your student specifically tests. Then the ACT test itself, as I mentioned, junior year, that's happening. We make mention of our summer ACT prep course that students can take between 10th and 11th grade, and that's a great tool and would be a smart thing for all students to do. But just don't forget that when it comes to doing well on the ACT test, we know that the key to that is just working hard in your coursework and approaching your learning in a way that you're going to need to come back to this and recall it as a junior. Those are the types of students that really tend to do the best on the ACT. So we look forward to seeing you and discussing more about your individual child in the freshman conference. So good luck in scheduling your freshman conference, and we'll see you soon.